Hi, I'm Rich Galassini, and I'm sitting here with Larry Fine. Larry Fine, I've known you for over 25 years now. It's been a while.
A long time.
Larry is, well, let's see, how should I put it? You are the consumer's guide to pianos, really. One of the few people out there that can be totally unbiased and tell people a lot about pianos. You have books out. You used to have interactive phone interviews. You don't do that anymore.
No.
It takes a lot of time.
Well, people go online and get information, so.
Of course.
Yeah, mostly that.
So tell me how this all happened. It was amazing to see a consumer's guide come out in the 1980s. Tell me about that.
Well, in the 1980s, I was a piano technician, and at some point decided that I loved pianos, but actually servicing pianos was probably not the best career for me.
Okay.
So I was looking for something else I could do with pianos and with my education at the North Bennett Street School, where I learned piano technology. And I got the idea to write a book about pianos. And at first it was going to be on everything you could ever want to know about pianos, and eventually I narrowed it down to a consumer guide. And to do that, after writing the things that I knew, I realized there was a lot I didn't know, and I made a study of it and visited all the piano factories in the United States, of which there were about a dozen at the time. Now there are only 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. And then put together a network of piano technicians who regularly service new pianos to get their opinions about the quality of the pianos and what problems they were finding. And I put all that together into the piano book, which is that.
A colossal amount of work.
It was a colossal amount of work. It just developed partly out of my own need to be very complete in what I do, and not just to repeat the same old things that people were always saying, but really to give the information that was missing at the time. You may recall that back then, there were a lot of pianos being made, especially in the US and some abroad, that were, if not defective, they were very deficient by today's standards.
Right.
But nobody was telling the truth about that. And it was a kind of a secret among all of us that we'd whisper about, but no one was just telling the truth to the public about
Frankly,
it.
for anybody who's a young person watching this was way before the internet.
Yeah, this was before the internet.
Exactly.
And so nobody was telling the truth about these things, and I was perhaps young and naive enough to come along and say, well, that's crazy. Why doesn't somebody do something about that? And so I did. And it opened up a whole new era of piano
no
criticism.
question about it.
Yeah.
Frankly, it opened up transparency within the piano industry.
Yeah.
That because it's a difficult thing to understand, people buy pianos once, maybe twice in their lives.
Yeah.
It was difficult to research.
Yeah, it was.
You either depended on a pianist, a teacher,
Right.
a technician, or the store.
Right, and there were no books really. There was little pamphlets that were too nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But you went right into exactly where they should look for, what they should not look for.
That's right.
What makes a good piano, what makes a bad piano.
And also it was written entertainingly.
Yeah.
And also with some wonderful drawings that I didn't do, but a friend of mine did, and they really were very engaging.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So then that grew. Tell me how that happened.
What, the illustrations?
No, into the piano buyer.
Oh, into piano buyer.
Yes.
Well, what happened, several things happened. As we got into the 2000s, computerization of manufacturing and globalization cleaned up all those deficiencies in the pianos. Basically, beginning around the year 2000 or 2005, pretty much all the pianos that are being sold in the West were defect-free. They might not have all been perfect or all equal or all terrific, but they didn't have obvious defects that would make them simply that you couldn't recommend them at all. Right. So the basis for my book, which had to do with exposing all these defects, disappeared to some extent. There were still parts of my book that were just fine about used pianos and so on, but about new pianos, it really was not up to date enough. And I saw that I needed to change my focus. And in addition, people were going online and getting information on the internet, and they weren't buying books so much. Mm-hmm. So beginning in 2009, I changed my whole business plan. I rewrote everything. I put it online for free and made it advertising supported. And I could accept advertising because I no longer had to expose the defects in the pianos, so I no longer had a conflict of interest between those two things.
Right.
I also have a print version for those who prefer to read it in print. So for the past 9 years, I've been putting out 2 editions a year, both in print and online. And now I'm about to change that again.
Before we get there, the
Yes.
neat thing about the Piano Buyer is that you still do have relative qualities for
I do.
people to see. And
Yes.
that is still a great orientation.
Yes.
Because if somebody grew up, I'm just going to say this
Yeah.
off the top of my head, a Kohler and Campbell console,
Yeah.
and thought that was the best piano
Yeah.
because their mother had it and that's what they played on,
Yeah.
they could look at it and say, okay, well, it really falls here and there's all these other things.
That's
so
right.
it's still valuable.
It's
to
still
the consumer.
valuable.
Yes.
It's still very valuable, especially people come into the market, they see 50 or 100 different brand names. They have no idea which of these are for them, what they're like. And so at least I put out a map I call it a map of the market for new pianos, where I show you what's in your price range and how these are relatively in terms of quality and price. And it's not, I don't try to judge, I don't try to micro-judge all the pianos because so much of it is subjective.
Right.
But I lay it out in general terms so someone coming to the market for the first place can at least, for the first time, can at least see in general where they fit into the market and what brands are appropriate for them.
Now, here's the exciting thing. Larry is about to do something very, very different again.
Again, I'm always adapting to the times.
Absolutely.
And I should just mention, by the way, while we're on the subject of the website, that everything is on the website for free, pianobuyer.com, including databases that are searchable. For instance, if you know that you want a piano of a certain size, a certain type, a certain price range, a certain finish, a certain style, you just check the boxes, click search, and it'll give you, out of the 3,000 models, it'll give you the dozen or however that are right for you. And it simplifies your search a lot. Plus, it may make you aware of some brands you hadn't been aware of.
That's right.
That
And
fit your need.
If you had told me that you could do this 25 years ago, I would have said you're crazy.
Yeah.
But it is really helpful to anybody who's just thinking about a piano.
And I should mention that I have this for digital pianos as well as for acoustic pianos. Yeah. So there's a lot of tools on the website that are very valuable. So back to your question about how things are changing again. So putting out a full color magazine with articles and prices every 6 months, which is what I've been doing for the past 9 years, has become prohibitively expensive and a little bit tedious and
Stressful?
a little stressful in terms of the deadlines.
Right.
And also more and more people are looking at things online and they don't necessarily need every 6 months a full color book. So I'm changing it again. And starting in the fall, in just a couple of months, I'm putting out 2 different publications. One is the best of acoustic and digital piano buyer. It has the best articles that we've run for the past 9 years. I've gone through our archives and taken out the very best ones, not just the regular articles we repeat every time, but also the special feature articles that, you know, after being published once, they went into archives.
Sure.
And I call this the piano book for the 21st century.
And you had some fantastic
They were
articles.
great articles.
Yeah.
And so this is a very comprehensive guide covering not only basics.
By the way, I'm in at least one of them.
That's right. You are in one of them. Yeah, a very good article about use and rebuild pianos.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. I love this book because it really covers the gamut of every aspect of buying, selling, donating, caring for a piano, digital pianos, etc., and at many different levels of sophistication. If you just want beginner information, basic information, it's there for you. If you're a more advanced pianist and you want information about high-end pianos, about performance-grade pianos, about institutional pianos, it's there.
But you know what's missing from something like that?
What's that?
How do I know that I'm being treated fairly as far as price if I'm a consumer?
Well, I'll tell you about the price in a moment.
Okay.
My old book had the prices in it. The new one has only articles so that it won't go out of date too fast.
Okay.
It'll last for several years. And it'll be in bookstores and libraries who don't want a book that only goes out of date in 6 months. So
Of course.
So this one will be in bookstores and libraries, but I'm putting out a second book, a little book that has the prices in it, the models and prices. Every
Good.
6 months,
Awesome.
it'll be up to date.
Awesome.
And
That's the best of both worlds.
that's right, it's the best of both worlds.
You're a bright guy.
I'm a bright guy when it comes to this stuff. It's funny, I'm really a content guy. I don't really like the marketing and the sales stuff, but I do seem to have a knack for it anyway.
Right.
And so that's what I'm doing going forward. I'll have this 2 different publications. One with the articles, including the brand profiles, slightly abbreviated, but still there, because those don't change very often.
Right.
And the prices will be in a separate book for those who want the prices in print. Of course, the prices are online, free for anybody.
So someone can still go to pianobuyer.com and look at what pianos are available in their price range.
That's right.
And see what the retail prices are.
Right.
So then, and you also has SMP.
Yeah.
You tell people what is a good price on a piano.
That's
What's
right.
a fair price.
Right.
I think that's great
Yeah.
because it is fair to the dealer, but most importantly, it's fair to the consumer.
That's right. And I tell how to estimate a street price from the prices I have.
Awesome.
Of course, it varies depending on circumstance and geography, but there's a certain range of discounts that are typically given as a street price, and that's explained in there.
Well, I have to tell you, Cunningham Piano Company, we use your book all the time because it's informational.
Yeah.
And you know, it's very easy to show somebody, a third party, saying, "Look, what we've been talking about is true."
Yeah, right.
You know?
That's right. It gives a third-party validation of what
Absolutely.
you're saying. Yeah.
But so I think it's invaluable. I think that consumers should still continue to use it. Go to pianobuyer.com. This is the guy, Larry Fine. And Larry, thank you so much for taking time out of this Piano Technicians Convention to talk with a little guy like me.
You're very welcome. And
appreciate
you're not such a little guy. You're a very important guy.
So I'm Rich Galassini,
right.
and this is Larry Fine of Piano Buyer, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me at the Piano Technicians Convention. If you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe so we can let you know whenever we have new videos, and maybe we'll see Larry Fine again as a guest. Thank you again, Larry.
You're welcome.
See you next time.